Abraham, I'm trying to understand the difference between God's will and the law of attraction. God's will is a misunderstanding, a flawed premise of mankind. Because source energy is not willing you to do anything. Because you are here, you have the freedom to choose bondage. And if there were something like God's will, then God would not allow you to choose bondage or sickness. You're a little schizophrenic because you want God to agree with you and to allow the things that you want and to disallow the things you don't want. And you want God's will to make everything the way you want it to be. But there are a lot of you wanting different things, believing different things, and there is not that kind of God's will. There is, we don't use the word God very much because it means so many different things to so many of you, but we're following the lead here. This source energy that you're talking about, the closest thing to what you would think is God's will is God's eternal, loving desire for you to feel good. And that's as far as anything close to what you think is God's will goes. And God's understanding that you've chosen an environment where you can satisfy that over and over and over again. And that through exposure to life, that you can come closer to finding that. In fact, that was so powerfully non-physical intention. That's why the guidance system exists within you. Because that source energy is so only love. When you choose otherwise, you feel yourself pinched off, too strong a word, but diminishing the vibration of that. If you want to know what God's will is, pay attention to your negative emotion and you'll know when you're crossways of it. When you're mean, when you're angry, and you feel that awful way, you can know you're nothing like that which you think God is. Nothing like your inner being, a source energy. When you are so full of love that you can hardly stay in your body, you know what that source energy is. Your guidance system is showing you that all day, every day. How many lives, Abraham, did you go through before you decided to stop coming? We haven't decided to stop coming. Here we are. Oh, you mean, is Abraham ever always, ever only physical? No, and neither are you. You can't even ask that of yourself. You go on, my mother, who had dementia, told me before she croaked that she thought she was going back up and not coming back. We have often teased with you. We say, you think that's what you want when you've pinched yourself off from well-being and when you're not frisky and happy in your life because you're choosing vibrations that don't allow you to be who you really are. And you'll say, well, when this life is over, when this physical experience is over, I'm not coming back. So tell anybody that needs to know that once I make my transition into non-physical, I'm not coming back. Carry that message for us, will you, Abraham? And we always say, we'll carry your message. However, you don't make the decision about returning into this expansive physical experience from your physical experience when you're pinched off. You make it from your non-physical experience when you know the value and deliciousness of being physically focused. So we'll carry your message, but it won't do any good in regards to what you think you want right now, because when you reemerge into non-physical, you leave behind all of those negative impressions and perspectives of yourself and others, and you reemerge into the magnificence of all that you are. My question is the vibration of source rising? Yes. You often say, allow your vibration to rise to the vibration of your inner being. The way I feel it is that rising my vibration is a matter of focusing and syncing up with the broader perspective. But does the frequency of the broader perspective, which is source, continue to rise? Yes. Because the mantra of the universe is more. That's why you were eager to come into an environment that would produce new desire, which you would launch rockets of, that your inner being would then join. There is a rising of vibration every time you launch a rocket. In fact, the reason that you could ever feel negative emotion is because you had an experience which caused an expansion of your inner being, and then you didn't ride the rocket like your inner being did. So your inner being took the bounce. That's that rising, so to speak. But you sometimes are not so quick to take the bounce. You have to acclimate a little longer. A few days ago, I could feel negative emotions starting. I took a few deep breaths. The thought came to me, this is great because it means things are expanding. I was also proud of myself for knowing how all of this works. I was able to figure out that I was having a step one moment. I asked myself if I could feel joy while the negative emotion was present. And I could. As I'm typing this right now, it feels like I was able to calibrate. It's exactly what you were doing. I felt the negative emotion. It felt good to realize it. It felt good to know all the steps and where I was in that moment. It felt good to know that things were expanding and that what I want is being created. And I was able to add joy to where I was in a way that felt good. Yes. Yes. You said in an email, this was the daily quote a few days ago. You see, you're giving others too much power as you even acknowledge how they make you feel. What you've got to decide is how I'm going to feel. That was our quote. Really good one. Question, does that mean we're giving our power away when we decide we want to love others? You might give your power away when you decide that you want others to love you, because you can't control that. And then you might decide to try to behave in ways to get them to love you, which is really disempowering. But you never give your power away when you are focused in love. Because in order to love, you have to be in your power. Does that make sense to you? In order to love someone, you must be in your power. And then the last sentence, how do I love and not give my power away? And we want to say to you, love is your power. Couldn't happen. When you are in a state of love, you are in a state of your complete empowerment. And when you hold someone as your object of attention and you flow that energy that creates worlds that is flowing to you and through you toward another, that is your power. And when you are in that state, you are replenishing as you flow it. It's a never-ending stream. In your physicality, you talk about the eternal flame, something you try to light and keep it lit forevermore. There is something like that. It is this never-ending stream of who you are. It is eternal. It will never be, you'll never come to the end of it, because in that state, there is constant, perpetual, eternal replenishment of it.